You know what's funny about being underestimated? People don't just doubt you, they get comfortable in their disrespect. My husband threw me out like garbage, calling me a broke, worthless nothing in front of his friends. He had no idea I owned the pharmaceutical company paying his salary, but I wasn't about to tell him. No, I was going to let him discover it himself. The hard way. If you've ever been underestimated because of who you are, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button and stay until the end, because karma has a way of teaching lessons nobody forgets. My name is Gabrielle, and for 7 years I lived a lie. Not the kind where you're pretending to be something you're not. The opposite, actually. I was pretending to be less than I was. And I did it for love. Stupid, right? When I met Derek, I was already successful. I'd built Meridian Health Solutions from the ground up, a pharmaceutical company specializing in affordable medications for underserved communities. I had 3 degrees, 2 patents, and more money than I'd ever need. But I was tired. Tired of people seeing dollar signs when they looked at me. Tired of wondering if someone loved me or loved what I could do for them. So when Derek came along, charming and normal and completely unaware of who I was, I just didn't tell him. I said I was a consultant who worked from home. Technically true. I consulted with my own company, from my home office. He never asked questions and I never volunteered answers. The first few years were beautiful. Derek was attentive, loving, and we built what I thought was a real partnership. Sure, I paid for most things, but I did it quietly. The house was in my name, but he thought we both contributed. His salary went into our joint account, and he never noticed that my consulting fees covered everything else. I wanted him to feel like a provider, like a man who was taking care of his family. I wanted normal. But then Derek got promoted to senior finance manager at Meridian, my company, though he didn't know it. Suddenly, everything changed. The man who used to hold my hand during movies started checking his phone at dinner. The man who used to ask about my day started talking over me. Success didn't just change Derek, it revealed him. His mother, Helen, didn't help. That woman had opinions about everything I did, and none of them were good. She'd come over unannounced, running her finger along shelves, checking for dust, commenting on my clothes, my hair, my cooking. Derek deserves someone more polished, she'd say, right in front of me. Someone who understands what it means to be married to a successful man. I'd smile and nod, biting my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Derek never defended me. Not once. The night everything fell apart started like any other disaster, with Derek's ego. He texted me at 4 in the afternoon. Bringing the team home for dinner, make something impressive. No, please. No, is that okay? Just an order. I was in the middle of reviewing quarterly reports for the company, but I closed my laptop and headed to the kitchen. I made herb-crusted salmon, roasted vegetables, homemade rolls. The kind of meal that takes hours. I was still in jeans and a t-shirt when they arrived, flour on my cheek, completely casual. Derek walked in with 5 colleagues, all dressed in suits, all loud and animated. The moment he saw me, his face tightened. Disappointment? Embarrassment? Like I was a stain on his perfect evening. "Gabrielle," he said, his voice tight, "this is the team." He didn't introduce me as his wife, just gestured vaguely in my direction and moved them toward the dining room. I served dinner while they talked business. My business, actually. Derek's boss, a man named Frank, was going on about the company's mysterious owner. 7 years I've been there, Frank said, laughing. Never even met her. Dr. Monroe is like a ghost. Brilliant woman, apparently, but completely private. Derek leaned back in his chair, my chair at my table in my house, and smiled. "The company's doing well because of teams like ours," he said. "Vision from the top only matters if the workers execute." I stood in the kitchen doorway, holding a water pitcher, and watched him take credit for my work. Watched him minimize everything I'd built. Then Helen arrived, unannounced as always. She swept in with her judgment and her expensive perfume, took one look at me in my casual clothes, and her lips curled. "Gabrielle, dear," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "you look so comfortable." I suppose when you don't work, you don't need to worry about appearances. The table went quiet. Derek didn't correct her, didn't defend me. He just looked down at his plate, and that silence said everything. I excused myself and went to the bedroom. I could hear them laughing again within minutes, the awkwardness dissolved, my humiliation already forgotten. I sat on the edge of the bed, hands shaking, and waited. Because I knew. I knew this was the beginning of the end, and I needed to see how far he'd go. After the guests left, Derek found me in the bedroom. His face was red, his jaw clenched. "What the hell was that?" he demanded. I looked up at him, calm. "What was what?" He exploded. "You embarrassed me. Looking like that, acting like some housewife in front of my colleagues. Do you know how that made me look?" I stood up slowly. "I was cooking dinner. Dinner you demanded I make with 4 hours' notice." He stepped closer, his voice rising. "You don't contribute anything to this relationship, Gabrielle. You sit at home all day doing God knows what while I'm out there actually working, actually building something." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "Derek, I think we need to talk about—" He cut me off. "No, I'm done talking. I'm done making excuses for you. My mother's right. You're dead weight." The words hung in the air between us. Dead weight. 7 years of marriage reduced to those 2 words. I opened my mouth to tell him everything, to explain exactly who was dead weight in this relationship, but then Helen's voice called from downstairs. "Derek, honey, come here." He turned and left, just walked away mid-conversation, leaving me standing there. I followed him downstairs. Helen was in the living room, holding a glass of wine she'd poured herself from my bar. She looked at Derek with such sympathy, such understanding. "Son," she said gently, "it's time you stopped settling. You've outgrown this situation." Derek nodded slowly, and I watched him transform. Watched him straighten his shoulders and look at me like I was a problem to be solved. "Pack your things," he said, just like that. Cold. Final. "What?" I whispered. "You heard me. Pack your things and leave. Tonight. This is my house, my life, and I'm done carrying you." Helen nodded approvingly, sipping her wine. My wine. In my house. I stood there, looking at this man I'd loved, this man I'd protected and provided for, and I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt. Just a strange, calm clarity. "Your house?" I said quietly. He laughed, cruel. "Did you pay the mortgage? Do you pay for anything? You're living off my success, Gabrielle, and I'm done enabling you. You'll never survive without me. You have nothing. You are nothing." Each word was meant to break me. Each word was designed to make me beg, to make me small. Instead, I nodded. "Okay," I said simply. "Okay?" He looked confused, like he'd expected tears or arguments. "Just okay?" I walked upstairs, pulled a suitcase from the closet, and packed methodically. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, the most important thing, really. Derek stood in the doorway, watching, his confidence wavering. "You're really leaving?" he asked. I zipped the suitcase. "You told me to." He hesitated. "Maybe in the morning. It's late." I looked at him fully then, really looked at him, and I think he finally saw something in my eyes that scared him. "You said tonight, Derek. I'm just doing what you asked." Helen called up the stairs. "Is she gone yet?" That broke whatever last thread was holding Derek's uncertainty. He straightened. "Yeah, Mom. She's going." I walked past him, down the stairs, past Helen, who smiled at me with such satisfaction. I opened the front door and stepped into the cool night air. Behind me, I heard Derek say, "She'll be back. Give her a few days to struggle and she'll come crawling back." Helen laughed. "And when she does, you'll have the strength to say no. I'm proud of you, son." I put my suitcase in my car, a modest sedan I drove specifically because it didn't draw attention, and I sat there for a moment, in my driveway, looking at my house, at the lights glowing warm in the windows, at the life I'd built and hidden away. And I drove to my corporate apartment downtown, the one Derek didn't know existed, in the building Derek didn't know I owned. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from my CEO, Thomas. Dr. Monroe, his voicemail said, the board is requesting your presence. It's time. I'd been avoiding this for months. The board wanted me to take a more public role, to show my face, to be the leader they could point to. I'd always refused, preferring my privacy. But as I sat in that apartment, looking at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, I thought, why? Why was I still hiding? The person I'd been hiding for had just thrown me away like garbage. I called Thomas back. Schedule the company-wide meeting, I said. Friday, I'll be there. I could hear the shock in his voice. You'll actually come? I smiled, though he couldn't see it. It's time everyone knew who I am. The next 3 days were surreal. Derek tried calling twice. I didn't answer. Helen left a voicemail about picking up some of my little belongings. My lawyer handled everything else: divorce papers, restraining orders on the property, documentation of every asset. The prenup I'd had Derek sign 7 years ago was ironclad. He'd barely read it, so confident in his own earning potential, so sure he'd always be the breadwinner. It stated clearly that all assets brought into the marriage remained separate. Everything, the house, the cars, the investments, all mine. He'd walk away with exactly what he came with: his clothes, his car, and his ego. Friday morning arrived. I stood in my closet at the corporate apartment, the real closet, full of the designer suits and dresses I never wore around Derek, and I chose carefully. Navy blue suit, perfectly tailored, hair professionally styled, minimal jewelry, but each piece worth more than Derek made in a year. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself, not because I looked different, but because I looked like me. The real me. The woman I'd buried for 7 years. My security team picked me up at 8. 3 black SUVs completely over the top, but necessary according to protocol. We drove to Meridian Health Solutions headquarters, the building I'd designed, the company I'd built from nothing. I'd been there hundreds of times, of course, but always quietly, always through private entrances, always invisible. Today, we drove right up to the front entrance. The lobby was packed. Thomas had called an all-staff meeting, mandatory attendance. I could see Derek through the glass walls, standing with his department, looking annoyed at the interruption to his day. He was wearing his best suit, the one I'd bought him for his promotion. He was laughing at something, confident and comfortable, completely unaware that his world was about to implode. My security opened the doors. I stepped into the lobby and the room went silent. 1,000 employees, all turning to look. I walked through them calmly, professionally, my heels clicking on the marble floor. I could feel Derek's eyes on me. I knew the moment he recognized me because I heard him gasp, heard him say, "What is she?" But I didn't look at him, didn't acknowledge him at all. I just walked to the elevator, stepped inside, and went up to the executive floor. The auditorium was set up perfectly. Stage, podium, screens displaying the company logo. I waited backstage while Thomas warmed up the crowd, explained that today was historic, that they'd finally meet the woman behind everything. I heard him say my name, Dr. Gabrielle Monroe, founder and principal owner of Meridian Health Solutions, and I walked out. The applause was thunderous. I smiled, waved, and approached the podium. I looked out at the sea of faces, and there, in the 3rd row, I saw Derek. His face was white, completely bloodless. His mouth was open, his eyes wide, and he was gripping the seat in front of him like he might fall. Next to him, Frank was staring too, the pieces clearly falling into place in his mind. I began speaking. I talked about the company's mission, about affordable health care, about the new research divisions we were opening. I talked about growth and innovation and the future. I was professional, composed, brilliant, everything I'd always been but had hidden away. I never mentioned my personal life, never looked directly at Derek. I didn't need to. My presence was enough. After the presentation, I opened the floor for questions. Hands shot up. I answered queries about expansion, about hiring, about company direction, and then Frank raised his hand. I called on him, my voice steady. "Dr. Monroe," he said carefully, Some of us have worked here for years. We had no idea you were so involved, so present. I smiled. I've always been present, Frank. I just preferred to work behind the scenes. But things change. People change. It's time for transparency. The meeting ended. I exited through the side door, heading to my private office, the one I hadn't used in months. As I walked down the executive hallway, I heard running footsteps. "Gabrielle!" Derek's voice desperate. "Gabrielle, wait!" I stopped, turned, looked at him. He was breathless, sweating, his perfect hair messed up from running his hands through it. You own—" He couldn't even finish the sentence. I raised an eyebrow. "Is there something I can help you with, Mr. Thompson? If this is a professional matter, you can schedule an appointment with my assistant." "Professional?" His voice cracked. "Gabrielle, I'm your husband." I tilted my head. "Are you?" "Because I remember being thrown out of my own house 3 days ago. I remember being called worthless, nothing, dead weight. So I'm not sure what you think this relationship is, but professionally speaking, you're just another employee." He reached for me. My security stepped between us. "Don't," I said quietly. "Don't make this worse for yourself." "I didn't know," he whispered. "How could I? You never told me." I looked at him for a long moment. "I didn't tell you because I wanted to be loved for who I am, not what I have. I wanted a partner who respected me when he thought I was nobody. And you showed me exactly who you are, Derek. You showed me what you really think of a woman you believe has nothing. That was the truth. This," I gestured around us, "this was always real. Your love was what was fake." I walked away. Behind me, I heard him slide down the wall, heard him start to cry. I didn't look back. The next week was chaos. HR launched a standard performance review of Derek's department, routine procedure after a leadership presentation, but Derek was paranoid. They found irregularities, personal expenses on the company card, inflated performance reports, nothing criminal, but ethically questionable. He was placed on administrative leave. Frank had to publicly distance the department from Derek's actions. The man who'd been so proud of his success was now a liability. Helen called my lawyer 16 times. She wanted to talk, to explain, to apologize. I never took her calls, but I heard through mutual friends that she'd been bragging to her social circle about her son's success right up until the moment my face appeared on the news as a billionaire CEO. The humiliation, apparently, was exquisite. The divorce was finalized in record time. The prenup held up perfectly. Derek got his personal belongings and his car. I kept everything else, because it had always been mine. He tried to argue, tried to claim he deserved something for the 7 years. My lawyer shut that down in 30 seconds. Derek moved into a studio apartment in a neighborhood he used to call beneath him, got a new job at a much smaller company, much lower position. His friends stopped calling. His mother stopped bragging. And every day, he had to live with the knowledge of what he'd thrown away. As for me, I stopped hiding. I stepped fully into my role as CEO, became the public face of Meridian Health Solutions. I gave interviews, attended galas, sat on panels. I was myself, unapologetically, completely. And you know what? It felt incredible. I dated again, eventually, but this time I was honest from the first conversation. "I'm a billionaire CEO," I'd say. "If that's a problem, we should part ways now." The right person wouldn't see it as a problem. They'd see it as one part of who I am. I learned something through all of this. You can't make yourself smaller to make someone else comfortable. You can't hide your light to protect someone's ego. And you definitely can't build a life with someone who only loves the version of you that serves them. Derek didn't love me. He loved the idea of me, the quiet, convenient wife who made him feel important. The moment I stopped playing that role, I became worthless to him. That wasn't love failing. That was truth revealing. 6 months after that Friday meeting, I was in my office when Thomas knocked. "Dr. Monroe, there's someone here to see you. No appointment, but he says it's urgent." I looked up from my papers. "Who?" Thomas hesitated. "Derek Thompson. He's in the lobby. Security's with him." I should have said no. Should have had him escorted out, but I was curious. Send him up. Derek looked terrible, thinner, older, defeated. He sat across from my desk like a stranger, nervous and small. Thank you for seeing me, he said quietly. I didn't respond, just waited. He took a breath. I came to apologize. Not because I think it'll change anything, but because you deserve to hear it. I was cruel. I was arrogant. I treated you like you were nothing, when you were everything. I threw away the best thing in my life because I was too stupid and too proud to see it. I leaned back in my chair. You're right, I said. You were all of those things. But do you know what the worst part was, Derek? It wasn't the insults. It wasn't being thrown out. It was realizing that you only respected success when it came from a man. When you thought you were the successful one, you were proud and confident, but a successful wife? That was threatening. That was something to diminish and mock. He flinched but didn't argue. Couldn't argue, because we both knew it was true. I don't forgive you, I continued, but I thank you. You showed me who you really were, and you freed me to be who I really am. So thank you, Derek, for the lesson, and for the divorce. He nodded slowly, stood up, and walked to the door. He paused there, hand on the handle. For what it's worth, he said, you're extraordinary. I'm sorry I never told you that when it mattered. Then he left, and that was the last time I ever saw my ex-husband. Sometimes the people who underestimate you teach you the most valuable lesson. Your worth isn't determined by their perception. It's determined by your truth, your work, your character. I spent 7 years hiding who I was for someone who didn't deserve even the smallest piece of me, and when he threw me away, he handed me back to myself. That was the greatest gift he could have given me. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Drop a comment telling me, have you ever been underestimated? How did you prove them wrong? I read every single one, and I want to hear your story. Remember, you are not too much. You are not too loud, too ambitious, too successful. You are exactly enough. Don't ever dim your light for someone who's afraid of the dark. I'll see you in the next one.